There we go. Might have to make some cuts to the podcast tomorrow.
It's not that big of a deal. Um, so it wasn't that many minutes. So, but anyway, so Bregman in his interview basically shooting it all down, talking ultimate professional, consummate professional, right?
Mhm.
But if I was Craig Breslow, I would be on the phone with the Seattle Mariners right now, being like, "Let's talk Devers and Gilbert. Like, let's talk a deal," because
Mhm.
the Red Sox could use more starting pitching. The Mariners absolutely need another fucking bat. It makes
Mhm.
perfect sense for both situations, and the Mariners don't have a third baseman technically, so it makes perfect sense to do a package around there. And like, I'm sorry, bro, but I do not want a guy in my clubhouse who can't even realize that he's not that his skills are he's never been a good defensive third baseman, and he's
Mhm.
never really like honed it in on that craft of being a good defensive third baseman, and he's not even willing to admit Bregman's a great defensive third baseman,
Yeah, absolutely.
and if you want to help the team win, you got to do what's best for the team, and he's
Yeah.
obviously not willing to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I would absolutely, if I'm Craig Breslow, dude, I'm shopping Devers right now.
Yeah.
But it would have to
Yeah,
be
but
like for an MLB ready guy. Like, I wouldn't do it in like a prospect deal.
I think that's part of the problem right there is now that this has been said, now this has been out there. If you're in a the other half of the deal, you're a GM, you know that they want to get rid of Devers.
Doesn't
I mean, they
diminish
don't
his
want to get
value
rid of
though.
him, but like they you have that upper hand now because they're shopping him because he made these comments about that third. So I think you might be able to get a lower a, a lower level than Kirby as your
No,
starting pitcher there. Or you're able to, if you're Seattle, you're able to get a better prospect because
no,
I
no
know that you
chance.
have I know you have issues in your clubhouse.
No.
I'll take this thorn. I don't want to call him cancer because it's not at that level yet,
If
but
I
I'll take this thorn out of your side.
if I called the Mariners and they said, "Yeah, I'll take Devers, but you have to give me a prospect," I would hang up the phone in a second. And I know Craig
Oh,
Breslow would too. There's
yeah, but
no fucking chance you do that, dude.
yeah, but
Zero
it's
chance.
you can add pieces. So you can get a better prospect for one of your lesser prospects.
No fucking chance I would do it, dude. Zero. I would hang on to Devers and ride it. You can't do that, dude. You have a job to your franchise to a get a good deal in return, and a everyday third baseman is much more valuable than a starting pitcher. Period. I don't care how good the starting pitcher is. Like, we're talking an
Yeah, but
MVP level everyday third baseman. The value is much higher than a starting pitcher. There's 0% chance any general manager
with
is
as
giving you a
as young as
prospect.
he is too, but where else is he gonna go? Where's he gonna go for?
Well, I mean, if you're taking calls on him, like, I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of teams that would be interested in taking on Devers. That's why I don't think that a team would have leverage and being like, "Oh, you want to get rid of him? Like, okay, I'm gonna give you a shitty package." Like, because there's multiple teams that
I'm
would
not I'm
be
not
willing to
saying a
take him
shitty
on.
package. I'm saying a lesser package.
Shit, like, even if I was the Blue Jays, I would call him and be like, "Hey, let's talk a fucking Vlad Devers swap," because they know they're losing Vlad in the offseason, and you got
Yeah, but
Devers
then
signed for 6 years.
you have Casas at first, and who's your DH? Who do we say? Yoshida?
Yoshida, but I would be like, I would ship Costas off too.
No way. No way they're shipping Casas off too.
They could do it in a separate deal. I'm not saying with Devers, but um, for Vlad, fuck yeah, dude. I fucking because obviously if you do a Devers for Vlad, you would have to give up a
Yeah.
prospect along with Devers because of the age. But well, actually, I don't even know because Vlad's a free agent, so I'm not even sure. Like, you might just be able to do a Devers for Vlad swap. I doubt either team would do it, but
Mm.
there's definitely teams that would be interested in Devers for sure. But I just think the Mariners is like the prime partner, dude, because they absolutely need a bat and they have a plethora of starting pitching and can afford to
Sh-
give up a starting pitcher.
ship him down to Tampa Bay. It's in within division, but
Yeah, I don't know if the Red Sox would want to do that.
no. Well, I don't think the Rays would either because they have Caminero at third.
Yeah, then they would run into the same fucking issue.
Yep.
Uh, but it's interesting, dude. It's interesting, and ultimately, I don't think he gets traded. I'm just throwing that out there is what I would do, but
Yeah, I don't think he ultimately gets traded right now, but I think that opens doors within the season to push that trade if they need something.
it could, yeah, it could.
You know,
But who
if
knows, dude?
they
They could
somebody gets sorry.
Devers could easily, turn a corner and finally realize, like, oh, hey, maybe like David Ortiz calls him, right, and he's like, hey, bro, like, I was a DH, and I'm in the fucking Hall of Fame, like,
Yeah,
being a DH isn't bad, and you need to do what's best for your team. Like, you're not a good defensive third baseman. You've never improved on your defense. Like, you don't take it that serious.
yeah,
So do what's best for the team.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
You have to make adjustments sometimes.
Yep.
So, no,
And then let's also talk about Vlad. Obviously, so Vlad, uh, the Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero, which we kind of knew was going to happen, didn't come to terms on a contract extension, and the deadline was today. So now Vlad Guerrero Jr. will be a free agent at ends year.
which is his personal decision.
Absolutely, and
Yeah,
he's like, we knew he was gonna test the market, dude. Like, he'd be
yeah,
stupid not to test the market after what fucking Soto and just got. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
he'd be dumb as fuck to not test the market. So anyways, but he's so now he's gonna be a free agent at the end of the year, and now the Blue Jays are in this predicament where they could very well lose Vlad at the end of the year for absolutely nothing,
Nothing. Yeah,
and that would be a massive, massive mistake on the Blue Jays' part.
yeah. Well, I think the crazy thing is that the Blue Jays think what they're offering Vlad is a good package, and we're seeing Vlad's agent come out and say, no, we're not even close.
Who's his agent, Boris?
I don't think so. I don't remember who his agent was. I can easily look that up. Um, but the two sides are very,
Far apart.
very far apart. Uh, agent, who is it?
Bean Stringfellow.
Oh yeah, him. I've never heard
Never
of him
heard of
before.
him.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude,
Um,
he would be doing a disservice to his client if he didn't test the market.
yeah, yeah.
What did the Blue Jays offer him? Do we know?
We don't know.
Yeah, like, if they didn't offer him 12 years, 480 million, I wouldn't even fucking start
Yeah,
conversations, dude. Like, it's got to be a number around Soto.
yeah. I was thinking in kind of that 50 area,
Yeah.
45 to 50 area. Um, and do you? He's what, 26? Do you like you got to go for that longest deal possible, right?
Yeah, 12 years, dude. I think that's the
Okay.
starter. I think that's the starting years. Like, I think it's 12 years.
Yeah. And I think that's what Toronto is balking at, which is pretty fucking ridiculous to me.
Yeah, fucking the contract ends when he's 38. Honestly, if I
Yeah.
was Vlad's agent, I would want to do 12 years with like a 3-year opt out when he's 29,
Mhm.
so he could retest the market and maybe get a 10-year deal, and he could possibly get a higher AAV.
Yeah, and we see Toronto throwing out money to other free agents, but not the player that they have homegrown,
Yeah,
which I think is
I think it's tough on
crazy.
both. I think it's tough on both sides. We don't know what they offered. They could have
Mhm.
offered him 12 years, 600 million for all we know. But the tough thing is like, on both sides, you're negotiating against yourself only, right? So, like,
Mhm.
if you're the Blue Jays, right? If you're the general manager, you don't want to offer something ridiculous, right? Like a 12 years 600 million or 12 years 700 million, whatever. Like you don't want to offer something stupid and negotiate against yourself. And then if you're the player, you also don't want to just take that because who knows what you don't know what your market is like on an open market. It could be way more than what they're offering.
Yeah.
So I think for both sides it's a little risky. Obviously, if you're the Blue Jays, you would have liked to liked to ink him to an extension, given the fact that A, you've had a lot of difficult trouble signing free agents, and B, you could lose your franchise player for literally nothing,
I
and
think, yeah.
that would be absolutely detrimental. That would set the franchise back a lot.
I mean, you got to look like he has to be traded at the deadline, if not sooner.
100%. If they are like we talked about on Sunday, dude, if they're not in it, he has to be moved. Like at this point,
Eh,
you have to get something.
yeah. And just because you move him doesn't mean you can't re-sign him in the offseason.
Exactly.
So if you can move him and get some, some prospects, and I mean, even at the deadline, Vlad is going to get you some good prospects.
Yep.
He's going to get you a return. You just, you just got to utilize that and be like, okay, we get that return and we get Vlad back after this.
Well, you
We
don't
offer
know. You
him,
don't know that.
yeah, you offer him what, 12 years, 550. So not quite Soto money, but close to Soto money.
Well, I mean, he
Then,
could, depending on the year he has, he could get more.
yeah,
If he has a monster year, he's gonna be in high demand regardless. If
yeah,
he has a monster year, he's gonna get even more money. Which is why I thought the Blue Jays should have traded him at the deadline. Because I mean, what if he isn't having a good year, or what if he gets hurt? You know
mhm,
what I mean? And then the Blue Jays can't trade him, and
yeah,
it's like now you really fucked yourself, right?
yeah,
Dude, his value. I mean, his value's high right now, but his value was really high at the deadline last year,
mhm,
and they easily could have moved him for a package. And like you said, like just because you trade him doesn't mean you can't re-sign him when he's a
yeah,
free agent. He's a free agent. Like you still have
yeah,
the ability to negotiate with him. So you could have had a package, plus you could have had a negotiation. Now, what happens if you don't trade him? You get to the offseason and you negotiate with him and he fucking leaves you. Now you don't have
yeah,
shit.
yeah. And you missed the playoffs.
And you miss, and then what? And then what do you do?
Yeah,
You can't. You've been trying to sign people. You haven't
yeah.
been able to sign people. And Vlad's going to be the best free agent on the market next year.
Mhm.
So this will be 3 off seasons in a row where they've swung and missed on the top free agent.
And then Bo goes next year, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm out of it, if I'm out of it in this summer, I would consider trading both of them. To be
Hmm.
honest, kickstart a rebuild
Yep.
faster than.
Kickstarter rebuild that they never got out of their last rebuild.
Well, I mean, 3 years ago they were like the best team in the AL.
Yeah, but then they floundered in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I mean, like nobody expected them to be like no one expected them to take a downturn like they did. I mean, in 2022, like we all thought they were going to be the best. We thought like most people thought they were going to win the World Series,
Yeah.
right? And then 2023, they fucking
Gausman comes back down to earth.
a lot of regression from everybody,
Yep.
and that's the thing with baseball, dude. And that's why I always say like when you have the opportunity to go out and make a trade in the middle of the season and you're like a good team, dude, you got to go out and do it because there's no guarantees.
Yep.
Like the Orioles won 100 games 2 years ago, and they could have gone out and made a huge splash in the trade deadline. They didn't,
Mhm.
and it ended up costing them in the playoffs. And now, and the whole reason why they didn't was because they're like, oh well, we're young, we'll be back next year.
Yep.
Then they get hella injured and they don't get back next year. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You're not promised next year, dude. Next year is
Yeah.
not a given. You have to
Yeah.
take
And your window is
advantage.
only so long.
You gotta take advantage when you have
Yep.
it, dude. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, let's talk some AL Central, Ben. Um, so we're gonna start lowest to highest. Actually, pretty much 4 of these teams are around the same win total.
Yeah.
Um,
They're
very
almost identical.
Yeah, very, very close division. But the White Sox are at 53.5 wins, basically everywhere. What's your thoughts on the White Sox this year?
I mean, they can't be as bad as last year. They can't.
I mean, they could.
And they're what they did over the offseason does not change much, if anything, of from where they were last year. You sign a bunch of old guys. You sign, I mean, I think Bobby Dahlbeck is probably your best signing of the offseason. Maybe Austin Slater, and he was a guy that the Giants passed up on. He was a guy that the O's passed up on. Like you're stretching for
Martin Perez was
players
probably their
here.
best signing.
Yeah, but he's 34.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you're not signing like 25-year-olds.
Yeah. You just you're signing a bunch of old guys that
But
you hope can get it. And I mean, does the loss of Flexen equate to the gain of Martin Perez?
no, because you have a ton of young. Like, this is the thing I'll say about the White Sox, dude. Is like they're not going to be good, but they have a lot of good young talent. Like Drew Thorpe is going to be a fucking stud, dude. Like, I have zero questions about it. Jonathan Cannon is also going to be pretty good. Drew Davis Martin also
Yeah,
pretty good. So I honestly, like, I don't think, like, I think this team's a couple years away, but this is why you don't go and sign like big name guys. Like, I
well,
think
absolutely.
I think Martin Perez is a great addition because he's a veteran and he can go in there and like help these young guys. It sucks that you lose Kai Bush for the season because he's one of your top prospects and he's going to be out for the year with Tommy John surgery, so that fucking blows. But I mean, they still have a ton of young talent, dude. And then you went out and you traded Garrett Crochet and you got Kyle Teal in return, who got a non-roster invite. He's one of their top prospects. So yeah,
But yes, this is going to be eventually it's going to be good. But right now, looking at this lineup,
oh, this is a bad team.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to hit that 53 mark. I mean, you got to think that they'll do better than the 41 and a half or 41 last year.
53 is just
But
so low, dude.
53 is solo. But their additions, I, I don't know if they hit that number.
Yeah, I don't think they're relying
But
on
50,
their additions to be better. I think they're relying on their young guys to be better. Like, they're relying on the Miguel Vargases to get better. They're relying on the Luis Robert Juniors to bounce back. You know what I mean? Like, they're relying on fucking,
how many years are we going to
Cannon,
rely on
Martin,
Lou
Burke.
Bob getting better back?
Well, I mean, he's only 27, dude. So, like, let's not act like he's like some washed prospect or he's like a
No,
washed
yeah,
player.
absolutely. But he never was what he was his rookie year.
I mean, he's battled a lot of injuries, but
Yeah, and when is that going to stop? We don't know.
the guy's still a hell of a talent, dude. And he's also, auditioning for other teams basically. Like, he's gonna get dealt. So he's gonna want to show out, unless he really wants to be in Chicago, which, maybe he does, dude. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think like this team has some young talent, dude. Like, I think they're a few years
Eventually.
away,
Yeah.
but I lean under on them just because I don't think their bullpen's not very good. Their starting rotation, like I do think Jonathan Cannon is going to be better. I think Davis Martin is a really good prospect, but um,
Losing Crochet is
yeah, you
huge.
lose an ace, and
I mean, if you don't have Crochet last year, you're looking at a team that's 30 wins.
yeah, I mean, I think this is I think it's a bad it is a bad team, bro, and
Yeah.
I think they're a couple years off, and I think Lou Bob gets dealt at some point. I mean, you could even
He
possibly see
should have
Andrew
been dealt.
Benintendi get traded.
Yeah. Andrew
Um,
Vaughn can get traded.
yeah, I mean, this is and Vaughn's another guy. He's a good prospect, and like he should bounce back. It's been a couple years, but this team does have like guys that maybe can bounce back, or guys that are playing for like Mike Tauchman, who's playing for you know to stay in the big league. So it's an interesting team, dude. It's an interesting roster. Lennon Sosa. I mean, I just I think they're an under I think they're under 54 wins, dude. I don't think they're
Yeah.
gonna be very good. I think they're gonna be
Yes.
another doormat, unfortunately. And then in a couple years, I think they're gonna get better.
Yeah, I think they're going to get better, but I don't see anyone in their prospect list that is somebody you build around. I think Lubov was that person, but at this point with him at 27 and a half, again, likely getting dealt, uh,
Well,
who's that guy?
I mean, I think they got a lot of good pitching prospects, dude. To be honest, I think that's where they are. I think that's where they want to build their team around. The guy they drafted, Noah Schultz. He was one of the top pitchers. Hagen Smith. Like they have a lot of good young pitchers. Drew Thorpe, like I mentioned, he was part of the Dylan Cease trade. Kai Bush, he was part of the Luis Giolito trade a couple years ago. He's out with Tommy John though, but he's another top prospect. Jonathan Cannon, Davis Martin. I mean, these are all guys that are like highly touted pitchers. So I mean, they have a good young pitching. They have a good lot of good young pitchers. It's just a matter of like when they get up and like the guys that they have right now, like um, whatchamacallit, Jonathan Cannon and Davis Martin. Like this is only their second year. Sean Burke. So I mean, like they still it usually takes like 2 to 3 years for a pitcher to really figure it out. So by the time they get up, what are these guys that are in their minor leagues gonna look like? But I mean, like they do have some fucking stud pitchers in their minor league system, dude. Like they, the one thing I will say about the White Sox is they actually do draft and develop pitchers pretty well. Garrett Crochet is a prime example of that. You know what I mean? And so I will give them some credit. I do think that their front office is fucking dog shit, but I will give them credit for that.
Yeah, this is not a good team
No, not this year.
at this moment.
Yeah, they're 2 or 3 years away. Maybe more.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right, let's move on to the team that won this division last year, the Cleveland Guardians. Their win total is basically 82.5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere. This team obviously lost a lot. They lost Matthew Boyd. Shane Bieber is going to be back from Tommy John surgery. They also lost Alex Cobb. They lost Carlos Carrasco. They also lost Josh Naylor in a trade to the Diamondbacks. They lost Andres Jimenez in a trade to the Blue Jays. So I mean, this is a team that they won the division and they're really going into a rebuild, hoping to not I wouldn't say rebuild, but I mean they lost some guys and really hoping on their young guys that came up last year to kind of take that next step forward. What's your thoughts on the Guardians?
Um, when is Bieber coming back?
Beavers should be back for opening day.
Because
I saw him
did
throwing
he resign?
bullpens. Yeah, he did. I saw him throwing bullpens on Twitter. So he'll probably be back in April, May.
Um, what did he resign for? I didn't see that he resigned.
Yeah, he resigned for 2 years,
1 year,
28
10
million.
million. Sorry. Yep. December 2024.
Yeah.
So, um, I see this as taking a step down. I mean, I talked about this a little bit when we were talking about uh, third baseman with Ramirez. I think he's going to be taking a step down because of this lineup. Other than Ramirez, I mean, they have a lot of guys who are good, but I don't think they have anyone who is really kind of puts them over the edge. I mean, I think I like Lane Thomas, I like Jose Ramirez, Manzardo, um, Stephen Kwan is shaky. Um, Will Brennan, shaky. Um, you do pick up Carlos Santana, but you also lose Naylor. So I mean, I think that's a step down for them. Um, you're asking for a lot of these young pitchers to really step up, and I'm not sure Gavin Williams can do it. I'm not sure BB is a number one. I'm not sure Lively is a number two.
Nah, Lively's definitely not a two.
So I mean, I think they're missing that number one, which could be Bieber, but
I think
uh,
Bybee's a legit. I think he has the stuff to be an ace.
yeah,
I think he's got elite. He got really good swing and miss stuff.
yeah, I'd
And I think Gavin Williams is going to bounce back. He was coming off shoulder surgery. That's why he was a little shaky when he came back. But I think he's going to be really good. Joey Cantillo is a really good prospect, too. Got his feet wet a little bit. The one thing I'm never worried about with the Guardians is pitching, dude. They develop
yeah,
pitching really well. And, Tristan McKenzie also, he was injured last year coming back. I think picking up Luis Ortiz was really good. He had a solid year with Pittsburgh last year. I just think that we saw this offense tail off a lot last year at the end of the year, and
saw
now
the
you
pitching tail off a lot last year too.
well they're in the playoffs, yeah, but
At the end of the year, I'd say so, but
they're
it's my
they're
opinion.
they're really they're really hoping that guys like Joanski Noel and Angel Martinez and Kyle Manzardo really take that next step in their development to become an everyday player. And you know, that's a big ask, dude. That's a very big ask. And I don't think David Fry is gonna have the same year that he had last year. Like he had a career year last year, and he also tailed off at the end of the year. I think we've seen his peak. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna
Well,
do improve on
when
this.
is he even coming back? Because he had elbow surgery in October.
Well, he's just a DH, so we've seen guys fucking swing a bat with fucking Tommy John and shit. um,
Expected return date.
but yeah, I think this team is gonna. Honestly, I think 82 and a half is like pretty right. I think they're gonna be worse than last year.
Mhm.
But I still think they're gonna hover around 500, dude. Like, it's still a good team. It's still a good club.
Yeah, I think when 13 of your games are against Chicago, that helps that number as well.
It does. Yep.
So with all of these teams, you have to put that little bit of a cushion in there that you're gonna win at least 10 of those 13 games.
Yep.
So, I'm with you. I think you could put this at an over. I think this is about right, that 81 to 83 games. Um, but at 81 to 83 games, I can see them being fourth in their division,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like
third or fourth in the division.
I think these teams are like pretty close together.
Mhm.
I will say this, dude. I think the Guardians are gonna be better than the Royals.
I see. I think I think those two teams are my three and four.
I think they're gonna be better
Like
than the
they're going
Royals.
to be fluctuating between that three and four position, and I have Minnesota and Detroit above them.
I agree. I think Minnesota and Detroit are definitely the two best teams in this division. But I do think that the Guardians are gonna be better than the Royals.
Yeah, it's tough,
So
but I
let's
don't
talk
hate it. I don't hate it.
let's talk about the Royals. Let's move on to the Royals. So the Royals win total is 83 to 83 and a half, depending on where you get it. We've kind of talked about the Royals a little bit when we talked positions. Um, they did add Jonathan India um, to their in a trade, and then they lost some guys as well. But what's your thoughts on the Kansas City Royals?
Yeah, I, I'm not really impressed with what they did over the off season. Trading Singer for India and Weimer um, was just kind of uh, a kind of blah trade. Um, you're gonna have India be your, at least from what I'm seeing, he's probably gonna be your DH. And you'll have Massey at second.
Nah,
So
well, they'll.
no,
I think they're gonna. rotate. I mean, it's hard to imagine that you trade for Jonathan India and don't play him a second.
Yeah. And then do you make Massey your DH, which I don't think he's
No,
that great. Like,
I mean, that's the thing, dude. Is this team is really built on Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino, and then last year Salvador Perez had a resurgence.
in a
Now,
year, yeah.
will Salvi continue that? I mean, maybe. I doubt it, but we'll see what happens there. And then, like, I'm confident in Bobby Witt and Vinny Pasquantino. It's just everything
Yeah.
around them. Like, what do we get? Like, Michael Garcia has shown flashes. MJ Melendez has shown flashes. They're just not consistent. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, I think you. Well, sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
No, go.
Continue talking about that.
No, go.
I think you can also relate that to their starting rotation too, where there's a lot of guys that, yeah, this could be like a good year for them, but it's like for them to put up 2 good years, like for
Especially at their
Lugo
age.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
Lugo and Waka, like,
uh, 33 Waka 33.6 years, Lugo 35.3. Like, I don't see Reagan's having another year like he did last year.
if
He
there was
pitched
if
lights
there was
out at
a
the first half.
if there was a guy that was gonna repeat last year, it would definitely be Reagan. So,
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
like,
Yes.
I still think he's a great pitcher, and I also think getting Bubic back healthy is huge too, because he actually showed he actually was really good out of the bullpen last year. He's coming off Tommy John, but I mean he was one of the Royals' top prospects too coming up.
Mhm.
And I also think their bullpen, like, I think getting Carlos Estevez was a great signing.
Yeah, I think that's probably their best signing of the year, of the offseason.
The one thing I will say about Estevez though is, like, he was really good with the Angels last year, and then once he got to Philly, he was like not very good.
Yeah.
So you're really hoping for that Angels version of Estevez. I love Lucas Erceg. I think Lucas Erceg is good. The
Mhm.
rest of their bullpen though, I'm not very confident in. Like, Hunter Harvey fucking blows. John Schreiber, not very good. Angel Zerpa, who knows what you're gonna get out of him. He's probably one of their better relievers though. He's a really good lefty. So I just, I don't know what you're gonna get out of the rest of that bullpen, but I do like that back end of that bullpen. Like, if you can get Angels Carlos Estevez back, like, that's a strong bullpen. And that bullpen actually did come around last year towards the end of the year once they got Lucas Erceg. Like, that bullpen was a lot better. So, I do think their starting pitching is going to tail off. And then I'm not sure what they're going to get offensively.
Mhm.
I love Bobby Witt Jr. I love Pasquantino. I just don't know if we're going to get a duplicate season of Salvador Perez. And you're really hoping that Massey, Melendez, and Michael Garcia take a step. And I think we've seen the best years of India. I think they're behind him.
Mhm. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Garcia take a step. Um,
I mean, there was times last year, Ben, he looked every bit of what we thought he could be. And then there was times
yeah,
where he looked like he didn't even belong on the field.
yeah. Melendez, I'm still kind of iffy on.
Melendez is all or nothing, dude. He either hits a home
Yeah,
run or strikes out.
yeah. I'm not too. Yeah, offensively, I don't know much about Massey.
I mean, he was one of their better prospects.
Yeah, shown a 19.0 strikeout percentage, a 5.3 walk. So that doesn't necessarily, or 5.4 walk, that doesn't necessarily bode well. 730 on base percentage projected.
This team was like the best team hitting with runners in scoring position last year too. For what it's worth, they hit like over 300 as a team.
Hmm.
Will they do that again? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a fight for 3 and 4 with Cleveland.
Yeah, I think they're about a 500 team. I think, I would lean the under here, but you know, I think it's about right. Like, I definitely think they're the third. I'm with you. I think they're worse than the Guardians. I think the Guardians are the third best team in this division, but
Mhm.
I do think that it's going to be close.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next team. We have the Detroit Tigers.
Gonna do A little wardrobe change here.
So,
I wish I had the mustache I could put on, just like tape one on.
yeah, he should have kept that mustache, dude. Jake
There you
Rogers.
go.
So the Tigers are anywhere from 83 to 83 and a half wins right now. Tigers, they're the only team in Major League Baseball to retain everybody from last year. They also added Gleyber Torres, um, and they lost Shelby Miller. Who else did they add? They also added Tommy Conley from the Yankees. So interesting team.
They added Flaherty.
Oh yeah, they added Jack
They
Flaherty
added
too. Sorry,
Gleyber Torres.
I said Gleyber Torres.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Alex Cobb, Ryan Miller. Um,
Oh yeah, they added Alex Cobb too, which I think is a
yeah,
good addition. Honestly, they have about 6 or 7 guys they could start next year.
yeah, which is a complete opposite of where we saw them come playoff time.
Well, that was because they had a lot of injuries.
Yes.
So they're going to get Matt Manning back, which is a huge addition.
Mm-hmm.
And then you obviously Casey Mize and Reese Olson both coming back from injury as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you obviously add Jack Flaherty, and then also the biggest lift, I think, in my opinion, Jackson Jobe,
Yes.
who I think is
Actually, going to get some starts this year.
yeah, and I think getting his feet wet in the playoffs last year was huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I love this, and obviously this bullpen is fucking nasty. And I think adding Conley is a hella good addition.
And Burbia.
Yeah, yeah, and Brebbia, but I mean Brebbia is whatever.
Yeah, but it gives you more depth.
Yeah, they have a lot of depth, and then obviously you have Kydar Montero too, that is probably going to pitch out of the bullpen. So I mean, this team is very deep, dude, very deep. And then obviously you have Jace Young, Colt Keith, and Parker Meadows, who all kind of came along at the end of last year, which I think is fucking massive. And then obviously Riley Green, who's going to be a fucking star.
Yep.
So I fucking love this team, dude. This is a young fucking team, dude. But I think getting the playoff experience last year was massive for them, especially beating the Houston Astros. I think that's huge. I think Gleyber Torres, Ben, I think he's actually going to have like a resurgence. I think he's going to be one of those guys that like the weight is lifted off of his shoulder, not playing in New
In the
York now.
spotlight. Yeah.
And I think he's gonna play like much more free and stuff. I think he's gonna have like a really good year. I think it's a great addition for
Yeah.
Detroit. So I really like it. I really, really like this team, dude. I like them over 83 and a half wins. I think they win the division.
Yep.
I just think the pitching is just way too strong and way too deep, dude. Like I said, they have 7, 8 guys that could start a game this year.
Yeah.
Which I think is fucking huge.
Absolutely. And I think something that's really interesting to see here is Spencer Torkelson is not on their projected starting lineup. So if he does have a resurgence like he did last year, he is going to be another shot in the arm that's going to be good half midway through the season, or if somebody gets hurt. You're moving Colt Keith over to first base so you can have Torres, because Cole was at second last year, right?
Colt is
Or play outfield.
Yeah, to be honest, I think Glaber probably moves to first base, or plays third base because Jace Young is also a second baseman. Him and Colt Keith are both second basemen, but
Okay.
Jace played a lot of third in AAA too.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's gonna be interesting. Like they have a lot of utility, dude. Like they can move guys around a lot.
Mhm.
And that's very useful when you have a great manager like AJ Hinch. Because that was a huge thing. What Detroit was good at last year is like, pinch hitting and situational hitting and stuff like that. So they have that ability, like most teams don't, and they really needed a right-handed bat, which is why they got Gleyber Torres. Because
Mhm.
I mean, last year in the playoffs, dude, they had like 8 lefties
Yeah.
going every
You
game.
have Rogers, you have Verling, and that's it.
Yeah, and Rogers, you're not expecting much at the plate. He's really
Yeah.
there as a defensive
Yeah.
catcher. Um,
Yeah. Strikes out 30.2% of the time.
yeah,
Nice.
he's not up there for.
Yeah.
Anything he gives you offensively is great. But I mean, he's one of the best defensive catchers. So,
And you
um,
got the one of the best names in baseball as his backup. So
who? Dylan Dingler.
Dylan Dingler. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good team, man.
Yeah.
I'm expecting big things from Detroit this year.
Yeah, and also surprising that you've got Javi Baez as your uh, sitting on the bench. That's got to be a little rough with having that salary there. But I mean, you've got Dingler, you've got McKinstry, you've got Ibanez, you've got um, Torque. Like you have a lot of people that you can just place into the lineup here.
Yep.
Um, Kreidler. Yeah, it's just like you go down the list and they're set up for a while.
Oh yeah, they got a ton of dudes on under club control for a long time.
Yep.
So you know, they'll be here for a while, dude. They will be here for a while. And like I said, like getting Matt Manning back this year and Casey Mize and Reese Olson is fucking huge. Uh, Reese Olson and Matt Manning were supposed to be two huge players for them last year, and they lost fucking um they lost Matt Manning before the season even started. He didn't even pitch.
Mhm.
So getting him back is fucking huge. He's a former first round pick. He's only 27 years old, one of their top prospects.
Yeah.
I also have Ty Madden.
Yeah.
They got a ton of good pitchers, man.
Kyler
And
Montero.
yeah,
I mean, not
Kyler's going to come
great,
out of the
great, but
bullpen. Kyler's going to come out. No, Kyler has good stuff. He's going to come out of the bullpen. He pitched a lot better in the bullpen last year.
he eats innings. Yeah.
So yeah, I just think this team has like a lot of versatility and a lot of depth, dude, and I think that's
Mhm.
fucking huge. So, um, yeah, man, I love
Yeah.
this team, bro.
I have. I don't have it for them to win the division as a bet, but this is where I have them ranked. I personally have them ranked as winning the division over Minnesota.
Yeah,
Um, but I do have that to win the AL and to win the World Series bets out there. So
yep. As do I have them to win the AL and to win the World Series, and
yeah,
I think I think they win the division. I honestly think this could be the best team in the AL.
yep.
If their offense improves, easily best team in the AL,
Oh yeah, because we know their starting pitching is going to improve.
and their
So
bullpen.
and their bullpen. Yep.
They just have elite pitching. So, all
Yep.
right, let's move on to the Minnesota Twins, and the Twins are actually a very intriguing team in my opinion, dude. Because they develop well. They always have. You lose Max Kepler. You sign Carlos Santana. Or no, I'm sorry. You lose Carlos Santana. Sorry. You lost Kyle
And
Farmer.
Kepler.
Yeah, you lost Kepler as well.
Yeah.
But you do have like a lot of good young players. Like you have Willie Castro, who made the All Star team last year. Trevor Larnach, Byron Buxton. Should be healthy. We say that every year.
Yeah.
Royce Lewis, another guy. If he could stay healthy, we're talking about an MVP caliber player. Matt Wallner. And then they added Ty France, which I actually think is an underrated signing because somewhere in there, dude, Ty France is still that 300 hitter that once was. And he's still
Mhm.
young, dude. He's only 30 years old. It's not
Yeah.
like this dude's like hella old or anything. And then then Brooks Lee, 24 years old, he got his feet wet a little bit last year, so interesting team. And then they're really hoping for Pablo Lopez to bounce back off a terrible year last year, Ben. And Joe Ryan got hurt at the end of last year. You hope he comes back healthy and is good. Bailey Ober had a great year. Simeon Woods Richardson had a pretty solid year. And then you also have David Festa and Zebby Matthews, who both got their feet wet last year. Two really good pitching prospects. So what's your thoughts on the Minnesota Twins here?
Yeah. For me, this is a no bet. For that 83.5 to 84.5, uh, which I see kind of all over the place here, because they're just too injury ridden of a team, and we don't know if their pitching is going to play up to where they should be, if their bats are going to stay healthy, this should be a team that wins the division or is in a tight race with Detroit. But we don't know if they're going to stay healthy. There's nothing that has shown us over the last 3 years that this team can stay healthy.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's what worries me most about this team. Because you're absolutely right. You said it. All of these guys, Castro, Correa, Buxton, Lewis, Jeffers, France, Lee,
Jeffers
all
is
should.
mid.
Yeah, Jeffers had what, one good year,
He had like 2 good months last
2 good
year.
years.
He had like 2 good months.
No, not last year, but the year before he was good.
Nah, Jeffers is mid.
Um, but like these should be guys that can win you the division.
Well, Matt Wallner and Trevor Larnach, Royce Lewis, like those are three big prospects. And Trevor Larnach played on the national champion Oregon State Beavers with Adley Rutschman, Stephen Kwan. These are guys that, and Trevor Larnach, he rakes, dude. Like he rakes, but he's got to stay healthy.
He's got to stay healthy. All of these guys got to stay healthy. Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, Ken O'Barron, and Simeon Woods Richardson have the type of year that they had last year.
Well, Woods Richardson started out pretty slow, and then he kind of put it together towards the end of the year. So I think it was his first year. He was a rookie, so I think he kind of started figuring it out. Zebby Matthews and David Festa, though. I mean, David Festa is like one of the top prospects, and so is Zebby Matthews. So I mean, the fact that they have those two guys too just adds to their depth in starting pitching, which to me is huge. And then like again, those guys, they were rookies last year. This is their second year, so they got their feet wet. And like I said, for pitching, it takes longer to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's huge. I think this roster is good, but again, they got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
They got a lot of guys that are injury prone, and that's the problem. But and they need Pablo Lopez to bounce back, dude. They can't have a 5 ERA Pablo Lopez like last year. They can't afford that, dude, at all. And if that's the Pablo Lopez they get, I mean, they might be fucked, bro.
Yeah.
I do think that their bullpen is one of the better bullpens. Duran, Griffin Jacks, Cole Sands, Alcala, and then getting Danny Coulomb, great lefty, who used to pitch for the Orioles last year, but he's coming off an injury, so we'll see how he looks.
And he's old.
Yeah, and he's older, but I'm intrigued by this Twins team, but it's too difficult for me to play them over or under because like I could see them winning this division, but I could also see them finishing in not last place, but I could see them finishing in fourth place.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
yeah.
Depending on the status of their injuries and stuff. So
I don't think Royce gets injured as quickly as he did last year, but I think we're gonna see another injury from him this year. I don't want to because he's a hell of a player.
oh shit,
I don't think it'll be.
I just saw the chat, Ben. So my Dolphin 69 said, "You want to know which team is gonna suck this year? It's the Seattle Mariners. Fuck my dumb team and pathetic owner."
Yeah,
I didn't even see that till just now.
Maybe you get a trade for Devers there. Who knows?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I think Royce lasts a little bit longer before getting injured this year, but again,
Hopefully.
yeah, he's not gonna get injured at his first plate appearance this year.
God, I hope not.
Trotting around the bases too, of all things.
That was so bad, but I mean, hopefully he stays healthy because he's a great player, man.
Yeah,
and I love watching him play. So, all right, Ben, let's get to our best bets for this.
Well, I wanted to talk about AL Central winner odds.
Yeah.
Do you think any of these have value? I mean, the White Sox at 25,000 plus 25,000, you got to throw $1 on it. Not really, because then you just lose $1.
Yeah.
But you've got Kansas City. The best you can get is plus 340.
Okay.
You've got the Guardians. Best you can get is plus 300. Tigers plus 260 and Twins plus 240. I mean, is it worth taking the Tigers or the Twins at 240, 260?
Well, I'll say this. I think the margin between the Twins and the Guardians, like the Twins, Tigers, Royals, and Guardians, is very slim. Obviously, that's told by the win total. So I think anything less than like 4-1 isn't playable for the division.
Hmm. And nobody in this division is 4-1.
No, because they're so fucking close. So
Yeah.
um I would want 4-1. And like honestly, the best way to play this division, in my opinion, is wait a month or so. And if one team kind of like the Tigers, for example, like say they get off to a little slow start, like they did last year,
Hmm.
you could take them at a much better number. I mean, I would honestly like the Twins if they get off to a slow start. Like I would honestly play them at a good number too. So I think that's kind of the better way to look at this. Um, but yeah, I just think it's so close, dude, that it's between those four teams that I think the value is kind of like, unless you're getting 4-1, I think it's kind of
Yeah.
tough to play. I think it's just better to play in season.
Yep.
But you know, we both played Tigers and win the AL and the World Series. I think that was the way to play it. I think to make the play. I think another way to play this is in season. One or two of these teams to make the playoffs. I think that's another way to play it. So,
Yeah.
I just think it's tough to play any of these teams pre-flop.
Yep. Agree
Good,
with you on that.
good division. But I mean, I like if you were to put a gun to my head and be like, "Yo, you have to take a team to win this division," it would be the Tigers.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Agree with you on that.
I do think that they're the best. I do think they're the better team, the best team in this division. I truly believe that. All right. So what bets do you like in this division, Ben?
I only have one that I like and one that I lean.
Okay.
There are three that are just kind of too close to the number that I think is happening there. So the one that I like is Detroit over 83 and a half.
Yep.
I take both of those numbers.
Yep.
And then White Sox under 53 and a half. They have to do better than they did last year, but saying that they're going to be 12 and a half games better than last year is is a big jump. And I don't see what they did to their lineup to make that jump reasonable.
Yeah, I agree. I lean the under. Probably not a play for me, but I do like the Tigers over 83 and a half. I like it over both numbers, and obviously to win the World Series in the AL, I like
Yeah.
the Tigers at it too.
Yeah, get that quick because probably not going to get the numbers.
Unless they get off to a slow start, you never know.
Yeah.
That's the thing about baseball, though. It's so long of a season that like a team can get off to a slow start and like your season's not over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, Ben. How was that beer? You got to give us a rating.
So yes, I was gonna butt in if we didn't go there yet. So this is actually a really good beer. You can see that it does have legs on it too. If I can get a good angle for the camera there. I actually didn't run through this one like I did the other night. Because it's one that you can drink fast and you can also just sip. It's a 6.5%. It doesn't taste like it's 6.5%. It tastes like a 5.5% beer, which is definitely a big boost for it. This is one that's going to be really good over the summer. It's citrusy, has a little bit of those floral notes. Great nose to it, and it's got legs. So I'm very happy with this beer. I have personally moved away from IPAs unless they're West Coast IPAs, which this one is. So this is kind of my version of the IPA that I'm drinking. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. This is a good beer. And great job for a collaboration beer. It's tough to get good collaboration beers. So
Damn, I usually like collabs.
they're hit and miss. They're really hit and miss.
Yeah.
Somebody always tries to throw something weird in that. It's like, oh, this is our brewery's like specialty is throwing banana peels in there. It's just
True.
like, meh,
True.
not my jam. So,
True.
but this one very good. Clearly deceased from Altamont and Bergeron. So, good shit.
Hell yeah. Love that. Thank you everybody for joining us. If you missed any of the show, make sure to find it on wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast fix. Search Taproom Sports. It'll be in there. We appreciate you for hanging out. We'll be back on Sunday. We'll be doing the AL West. Right, Ben?
Yep.
AL West preview. So I'm looking forward to that. A's to make the playoffs, baby. That's a preview. Little cliffhanger right there. So thank you everybody for joining us. Follow us on Instagram at Taproom Sports Podcast.
Nope. Instagram at
Taps and Jacks. Sorry. Instagram at Taps and Jacks. Twitter at Taproom_sports.
There we go.
YouTube.com/at Taproom Sports Podcast. Twitch.tv/Taproom Sports. We'll catch y'all on Sunday, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be there or be square. We're out of here. Peace.
9:15.